Hi, I'm Coach Michael Burt. To get a free copy of my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster, text 678 506 7543. Text to get a copy of my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster, and I'm going to turn you into a legendary creature. I want to start off because we're talking about motivation, and I want you to really understand the difference between inspiration and motivation. Okay. And this ties into the pray drive concept that you guys have heard me talk about. Most people get inspired, and inspiration, that my definition of inspiration is where an idea has a hold of you and it is trying to take you to a place that you want to go. Right? Like you got inspired to do something, you watched something, you heard something, you listened to Coach Burt, you were around a person, you listened to Ed Milet, you want to go tackle the world, or you listen to somebody, you want to go do something, you're inspired. Your pray drive has been activated. The problem is that inspiration goes away like cotton candy. Okay. And really what you really need is you need motivation. And motivation is where you see an idea through to its logical conclusion. I want you to start thinking of motivation as a pit bull on a bone. It's coming back, and it's tenacious, and it has a persistence, and it has an intensity. And it's not just, well, I got inspired to do something, but I work the muscle to the point that I can see something through to its logical conclusion. Okay. Now, during this period, here's what I want to encourage you. It's almost like when you were kids and you were uncovering rocks, and little kids pick up rocks and you never know what's going to be underneath the rock, but you go out and you pick them up. Well, here's what I want to encourage you to know is there is no wasted movement during this period. There is no wasted phone call. There is no wasted Zoom. There is no wasted follow-up to your current customers. All you're doing is uncovering rocks, and you never know. You never know what's going to be underneath one of the rocks. It may be the biggest deal you've ever signed. And I want to tell you this to give you some encouragement. Two of the largest coaching contracts I ever signed. One, I did a workshop for two people, and I wanted to cancel it. I was tired. I was worn out. It was late at night. They're paying $40. My assistant tried to get me to cancel it, but I said, no, these people paid. I'm going to give them everything I got. So I coached for 2 hours as hard as I could. And one of the women sitting in the room was a CEO of a $40 million company. And she came to me on the break and she said, you're exactly what we've been looking for. And they signed me to a 4-year, $450,000 contract. And it was two people sitting in a room. The other one was a person. I spoke at a conference. I thought I was terrible. Okay. I wasn't on my A game. My PowerPoint wouldn't work. I couldn't get in a rhythm. I was right before Grant Cardone at that particular conference. And man, I just couldn't. I thought I was terrible. And I came off the stage and went out in the crowd and just tried to overpower people with energy. And I left there so discouraged. And we didn't sell anything. We didn't sell $100 worth of books. We didn't sell any T-shirts. We didn't sell anything. But one of the people that was there bought my books was a CEO of a $25 million insurance company. And they called me the very next Monday and started off with a $120,000 contract that turned into a roughly $340,000 contract. And they said, we fundamentally disagree with everything you said about follow-up. But we liked your energy, and we knew you could help us make millions of dollars. And they signed me to a huge six-figure contract. Now, what's the lesson here? The lesson here is, what if I wouldn't have made the effort to do the workshop for two people? What if I wouldn't have did the conference? What if I'd left there, even on your worst days? If you show up and bring good energy and do it, you never know what's going to happen. You may sign the biggest deal you've ever signed. You don't know what's on the other end of that opportunity, guys, which is why you got to be motivated every day. So I motivate myself like this. Okay. If you're trying to stay motivated, I'm going to give you my methodology. Number one, I believe in the body, mind, heart, spirit. I want to feed all parts of my nature every day. So when I get up in the morning, typically 5:30, the very first thing I do is I get up and eat something very light, and I go exercise for about 45 minutes to an hour in a very intense exercise. I do tap out, which is mixed martial arts. Okay. And I do that through a system. You can follow along. It's on YouTube, and it's called Tap Out XT. and I go through that cycle, and I work out at a high pace, and that gets my blood flowing, right? And that gets my energy going. Now I got ideas. Then I go see my family, my wife and my daughter, meet with them, have a little breakfast, and then I head to my office. And I either get dressed at my office or before I get there. On the way or while I'm getting ready, I listen to something spiritual. So for me, I listen to a sermon, and I've got certain pastors that I really like because I'm a faith-based person. So I listen to a sermon, okay, first. I do not give myself permission to listen to anything else until I've gotten that sermon in. I may listen to 15 minutes up, I may listen to 30 minutes up, but every day I start off, and there's one particular person named Jimmy Evans that I really like that tackles fear, uncertainty, doubt, law of growth or die. I mean, he's just really practical. All right. Then on my way into work, I listen to something business oriented. After I got my sermon in, I listened to a business oriented podcast, and I listened to somebody pour something into me, business, mindset. And I got 4 or 5 dudes that I listen to. Okay. Now, then I get to my office. First thing I do is I meet with my team at 8:30. And let me explain the purpose of this. Never underestimate the need to re-enthuse people every day. If you have a team of people, you got to know this. Most people come out of the gate strong. They fall off the wagon, and then they experience guilt. They do not have the discipline that it takes to show up every day and fight through their feelings. Feelings of what? Fear, anxiety, disappointment, anger, frustration. So my 8:30 meeting, people always ask me, what do you cover in your 8:30 meeting? I don't cover tactics at 8:30. I cover inspiration and motivation at 8:30. I try to sell my people on, we're going into battle. Let's go get it. Here's why we're doing it. Man, I'm proud of you for doing this. The first thing I try to do is get them excited. And we do that every day at 8:30. From 9 to 11:30, we do nothing but prospect for new money. New money, new money, new money. Now, we are making 40 calls in the morning and 40 calls in the evening. And I believe in what's called the law of diffusion. And the law of diffusion tells me that from every person I present an idea to, roughly 16% of people will be open and inviting to that idea. Okay. Now, for you folks that have been doing this a long time, Michael, Troy, you may have a percentage that you know in your industry, out of everybody you present the idea to, this is how many people are interested. Now, what I'm using is what's called the law of diffusion. So we will ask our people at our midday meeting, okay, 11:30, they eat lunch. 12:30, we meet again. And I'm going to ask Lakin, how many calls did you make? I made 40. Out of the 40 calls, how many people were open and inviting to your idea? It's typically out of 40 calls between 4.8 and 6.8, which is 16%. Right? Now you guys have seen Cardone, and he's out there pushing. He said the other day they made 471 phone calls to make one sale. That's a number. Now we typically, so I believe in 80 calls a day because I believe in the law of diffusion. Now, Michael, how many do you think a person needs to be making right now in this environment?
Well, it's we have 2 stages. So our first stage is getting somebody who's willing. So I figure I need to talk to, on average in our industry, I'd say you'd have to talk to 12 to 15 people to find one person who says, yes, I would be willing to sit down and look with you. And then that creates a pool of appointments. And then the percentage of that we're tracking is closing. From the beginning of time, we have to find one person to sit down with us. Every 3 people that sit down with us, we end up selling one solar system, which is pretty extraordinary, but that's just a run-of-the-mill average for us. And then the difference between average and world-class is 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3. And as you get your skills and get your your repetition up, moving from 1 out of 3 to 2 out of 3 takes you from on the roster to Hall of Fame. But the first part of it's really the key, and that's the hard part right now. You got to talk to 12 to 15 people to find one that'll say, okay, I'll take a look. And so that we normally do that by driving ourselves to get to so many doors. And the frustrating and difficult part right now is we can't go knock doors. So we're having to find other ways to do that. That's where the creativity is coming in.
Because if you can't get their attention, you can't share your services. And if you can't share your services, right, you can't do it. So here's here's the stats I want to show you. When you look at the law of diffusion, it tells me that that 16% of people will see an idea and be early adopters or innovators. I mean, they see it, they get it, they want to move forward with it. That doesn't mean they're going to buy it that day. Maybe they do, but it means that they're most open to it. Then it says 34% are what's called early majority. Another 34% are what's called late majority. And then there's 16% are called laggards. And these are people that ain't never going to get it. So the goal is, how quickly can you figure out if they're a good fit for you or not? How quickly can you ascertain that? And I'm going to show you a trick that I use. It's not really a trick, it's just a strategy in just a second, called the explanation of service. And how I explain my service weeds out the people who are not going to be good. Okay? Now, so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get in a rhythm. So at 12:30, I meet with my team again. We go through how many calls did you make, how many people were interested, what wins did you have, what losses, what momentum. And then they go back into another cycle in the afternoon from 1 to 4:30. And during that period is when they call on current clients, engage with current customers, try to get new referrals out of our current book of business. Okay? So morning is focused on new money. Afternoon is focused on new money. But during the afternoon, I do allow them to work old money. Okay? Now, what I don't want is confusion. What I don't want is them to do a little prospecting and then stop and, mess around and goof off. I want focused, intense periods of prospecting and sharing our services with people and then pushing them to something in the future. 4:45, we meet again at the end of the day, wins, losses, what worked, what didn't work. Here's the number one thing we need to be pushing. Let's practice. Now, if I'm going to do any teaching, it's typically at the midday. The midday meeting is when I'm going to teach something. Here's a tactic I'm using. Here's a strategy. I just recorded a 45-minute sales session I did with a billion-dollar mortgage company right before this, and I'll send that to my sales team to watch. But how I pitch the services, how I explain my value, and then how I pushed them to something in the future, and how I got agreement at the end to move forward. And I'll send that to my sales team, and then we'll break it down and we'll work through what they can do, what they learned from that session with me making the pitch. Okay? So that's my schedule every day. 5 o'clock, 5:30, I go home.
Well, the structure would really help you, and the coaching that you would get through that would, could really move the needle for you.
Yeah, I think Eric White's on a sales call right now. He's on a sales call, but he's on our Zoom. Good for him. Okay, he's trying to close a deal. Now, here's my point. I thought he was going to jump in there and say something during our session. Now, here's what we're selling: an outcome. We're not selling a product. We're selling a solution. Okay, we're selling an outcome. We're selling making money or saving money. We're selling an asset. Too many people forget what they're selling. You need to sell impression of increase. That's what you need to be selling, folks. With me, everything's going to be better. Now, 5:30, I go home. I have dinner with my wife and my daughter, and then typically me and my daughter play tag or dodgeball around the house, try not to break something. Late at night, I get in a good swim after just to wind down in a heated pool, and then I come in and wind down and watch a little West Wing, and then I go to bed and do it all over again. Okay. Now, that's my structure almost every day of my life. I am a hard schedule person, meaning I want no confusion in what people are supposed to be doing. I want people working the muscle, making the calls. I want to track the calls. I want to know talk times. I want to know how many people made their pitch. Now, let's get into the explanation of service, because once your prey drive is activated, I do change environments, by the way. People ask me how I reactivate my drive. I have a couple different offices in different places. I got a big lodge. I've got a loft. I got a condo in downtown Nashville. These are all places I own, and I circulate between these places because they reactivate my drive. Okay. I don't like staying stationary. I do agree with Tony Robbins. If you want to change something, the first thing you need to change is your state. Change your state, move, circulate, change direction, get out of your current environment, take a walk, do something to change your state of energy. And that changes things for you. So I'm in agreement on that. Now let's talk about the explanation of service, because you guys are selling over the phone now. And I just want to give you some tactics that I use to know very quickly if I have a legitimate prospect or not. I have some core beliefs. One of those beliefs is this: I believe having something to say is just as valuable as having somebody to say it to. So if you don't have a great explanation of services, you could call 100 people and it wouldn't matter because you don't have anything valuable to say. I also believe that people do business with other people that believe the same things they do. I don't think people care what you do. I don't even know if they care why you do it. Okay, I know Simon Sinek wrote the book Start With Why, Find Your Why. I like him. I think he's smart, but I've got a chapter in my new book called Screw Your Why. And now let me tell you why. I don't think you have to find your why to do business. Like, I don't care what your why is. Okay, I mean, it's yours. Okay, what I do care about is, are you and I in alignment philosophically? Do we believe the same things? And to me, this is more important than you sharing with me your why. Okay, I may say, great for you, good for you, I'm glad you're doing this. So based on those two things, we believe having something to say is just as valuable as having somebody to say it to. We also believe that people do business with other people that believe the same things they do. It is only natural that instead of leading with what you do when you talk to people, you lead with what you believe. Okay, does everybody see that? So if I was calling on Sarah, here would be my 4 steps to my sale calling on Sarah. I would initiate the phone call. I would disarm Sarah through some type of connection. So let me show you how I do that. Let's just actually role play this. Sarah, I'm going to unmute you. Okay. All right. I'm going to say, I'm going to disarm Sarah right out of the back. Sarah, where do you live? What part of the country you live in?
Phoenix. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Let me tell you something. I've always wanted to live in Phoenix. I've tried to get my wife to move to Phoenix for years so we could have some of that sunshine. Now, what's it like living in the summer in Phoenix? Because that's what I'm curious about.
The summers are super extremely hot and you can't go outside. It's an oven.
All right. So that part sounds miserable, but right now it'd probably be a great place to live. Now, let me ask you a question. What I'm doing is disarming her and building connection with her. Okay. And so what I do with people, where are you located? Then I find some connection. Man, I was supposed to be speaking in Phoenix in a few weeks. You know, man, I love Phoenix. I actually love Scottsdale. Well, I actually love this. Well, you see what I'm saying? Then I'm building connection with Sarah. And I do this on every single phone call. Then I start asking discovery questions. Okay. And I'm trying to locate a problem. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. So I may say, Sarah, when you're looking at your business right now, would you say you're deficient in how you explain your services, how you generate leads, how you follow up, or how you extract referrals from your current book of business? What would you say you got the biggest structure, Sarah?
Sorry, I didn't. The very last part cut out.
Okay. If I was asking you where you are have a missing structure, notice I use the word missing structure versus problem.
Missing
Structure is a soft way to say versus saying, hey, you got a bunch of problems, Sarah.
You got a bunch of problems. In actually like structuring a day. So like routine.
Okay, good. All right, great. Sarah, I got a planner.
Scheduling time.
So I locate a problem and then I start offering her a compelling solution. And I may say to her, you know, in my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster, I talk about how to structure a day, how to eliminate. I actually have a planner called the Monster Producer Planner that shows you exactly how to structure your day around the highest value of your time. Now, does that sound like something you'd be interested in?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. So here's the deal. Now I've located a problem. Now I'm going to offer her a solution to that problem. Okay. Now, where does the EOS come in? At some point during the talk, after After Sarah and I have built small talk and rapport and I've disarmed her and she's relaxed, I may say, Sarah, there's a few things I believe. I believe everybody needs a good coach in their life. I believe a good coach can change your life. I believe those that have a coach earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money than those that don't. Okay. Because of that belief, there's really 3 things we do. Okay. And I go through boom, boom, boom. Now, let me give you some examples, Sarah, of some people we're currently doing that for and what they had to say about working with us. And I'm working her through a structure called the explanation of service. Lead with what you believe. Tell me what you do. Tell me people you have done it for. And then I'm leading, building momentum to say, Sarah, now if this sounds good to you, what would stop us from moving to round 2? And round 2 may be a strategy call. Round 2 may be, I'm going to send you a plan. Right? Round 2 is some action in the future that we're going to keep her moving. Or if she's really digging it and she's sitting there, you know, like, this is good. I may say, Sarah, have you seen enough to make a decision today? You know, are you ready to move forward with this? And she may, some people go, yeah, I'm ready. Okay. All right. You got a question. Go ahead, Sarah.
Can you repeat exactly what you said about like round 2, like the exact words you used?
All right. Yes. Here's the words I use to build momentum toward a close. And a close in this case could be moving them to the next step. Here's a couple ways you could ask it. I use, it sounds like this is a good move for you. Like it sounds like you're interested in this. I also say it seems like this is a perfect fit for you. Am I right about that? It feels like to me you want to move forward. It sounds, it feels, sometimes I say it seems like this is really going to be good for you, right? And if you study top negotiators teach you to use it seems like because it gets people talking. Okay. I could say out of everything I shared with you, Sarah, what piqued your interest the most? And that gets people talking. Then they go, well, I really like this part and this part and this part, which tells you exactly what their interest level is. Okay. Now, if you're a hardcore closer, right? And if you think they're ready, I just say, hey, Sarah, seems like this is a perfect fit. Are you ready to take action right now? Because there's a power in taking action. Right? Like I give them a little boom. There's a power in taking action. You seem like a woman of action, Sarah. Are you ready to go right now? See how I'm doing that? Okay. Now let's go back through the structure so I make sure everybody's got it. Number 1, don't tell me what you do right out of the gate. Nobody cares what you do. They line up with what you believe. Hey, I'm Coach Burt. There's 3 things I believe. I believe this, I believe this, I believe this. Because of my beliefs, let me tell you what it is we do. We do these 3 things. Boom, boom, boom. Let me give you some examples of some people we've done it for with a lot of success and how much money they saved and how happy they are. I'd be happy to send you these testimonials as soon as we get off the phone. Now, if this sounds good to you, what would stop us from moving to the next step? Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm leading with my beliefs. Now, how fast do you guys think I know if I've got a legitimate prospect when I lead with my beliefs? Within 15 seconds. Would you rather know in 15 seconds or would you rather chase somebody for 15 months? Okay. So when I come out of the gates and I say, I believe everybody needs a good coach. I believe we can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. I believe those that have a coach earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money. No, if they sit here and do this, right? If they sit here and just do this, then I'm like, they don't believe the same things I do. If they sit here and go, that's right. That's good. That's good. Have you ever had a coach before in your life? Oh yeah. I believe in coaching. See where I'm going with this? Now, my point is, I believe when 2 people are in agreement, that's when you make a sale. Selling is nothing more than partnering with another person in a fair exchange of value. When I bring something to the table that solves your problem and you see it, you believe it. I believe you can help me. Now, when I know that right out of the gate, if you noticed, when you saw me speak at D2D, if you remember, what's the first thing I say when I walk out on that stage? I say, hi, I'm Coach Michael Burt, and I believe everybody needs a good coach in their life. I believe a good coach can change your whole life. How many of you have ever had a good coach? And guess what people did? Right? Do you know that those are the people most likely to buy my products, hire me to be their coach, because we believe the same things? And guess how fast I knew? In the first 15 seconds. I knew in the first 15 seconds. Okay. Now, my point to you is, which is why when I was finished, we had 500 opt-ins to my text campaign from that audience. That's a high number for the number of people who were actually in there seeing me speak that day. There may only been 600 people in there. 500 of them opted in. That's a very high opt-in number, right? Now, from the 500, guess what we start doing? We start separating out from the pretenders to the contenders, right, Troy? What we start doing is we start seeing who's serious, who's legit, who's going to see it through. And we got to go through a lot of duds to find the studs. Now, my point to you is, when I'm selling, all I'm really doing is trying to weed out the 84% of people who ain't on board. Instead of trying to convince everybody, I'm trying to figure out who's in and who's out. And when I lead with my beliefs, I know very quickly, okay, he's in, he's out, good. Who do I need to go after? All right, I'm going back 7 touches with him. I'm not going 7 touches with them because they ain't interested. And I know, boom, just like that. All right, what questions do you have? TJ, you look nice and intense there. What questions you got about this? Hit your microphone on. There you go.
Good coach, and this is motivating more than ever to stay busy. Definitely.
Now, here's the deal. When you explain your services currently, where do you think you do good? Where do you think you could get better?
Reading when, like you said, when do you 7 touches, or when is it good for just 1 touch? I think, like you're saying, right away. But with my sales, that and staying, I'd say perfecting the close, of course, and just making sure we're on the same page at the very end, all the way up until the end, I would say.
Good. Now, here's the deal. I want to use a word called considerations. A consideration is an internal thought that prohibits you from taking an action. Here's a consideration. They don't have the money. They're not interested. They're not buying anything right now. Everybody see that? Like you go into selling each day thinking that's an internal thought you've got. So therefore, we've had people tell our salespeople, don't try to sell them anything right now. Nobody's buying anything. Just call and check on them. I'm like, to hell with that. We ain't doing that. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be asking for business. We're not just calling to check on people. Good Lord. There's never been a better time for a person to have a coach in their whole freaking lives than right now. So what we need to say is we need to remove that consideration that our salespeople have of nobody spending it. Just because you may not spend money doesn't mean somebody else ain't spending money. All you can do is ask. So the consideration you have to get rid of is fear of embarrassment, fear of failure. They won't do it. And you just got to come right out and say, hey, it seems like you want to do this. Are you ready to get started right now? Because you seem like a person of action. That's what you got. You got to have the guts to do that. Closing is about guts. How many people believe that?
Definitely.
Now, I want to tell you a story about a story that will relate to you. When I first started coaching people, I was 31 years old. When I left coaching, athletic coaching, and I was naive and ignorant. Okay. And not in a bad way, but in a good way. And I come out of coaching and I had no idea what my value was. I had no idea what to ask. I had no idea anything. And I would get in these meetings with these CEOs and they would ask me, how much does it cost for you to coach our team? And because I was ignorant and didn't have a pricing structure, I would just say it's $125,000. and the first one goes, hey, let's round it to 120 and get started. Do you know that I actually asked for more money my first year of coaching? And I was routinely getting 6-figure contracts. And because I didn't know any better, I just go in there and goes, hey, it's $125,000. They go, okay. Well, then after about year 3, I started having considerations. And guess what my considerations were? Well, they will never pay that much money. They don't have that much money to pay. Instead of asking for 125, let's ask for 60. And instead of asking for 60, let's ask for 40. And I started actually talking myself out of asking for these big numbers because I had all these considerations that they couldn't pay it or they wouldn't pay it. And that was dumb. When I didn't know any better, I just went for the kill and they paid it. When I knew better, then I started reserving what I asked for in the close. All they can say is no. We don't have that much money. All they can say is we're not doing it. All they can say is lose my number. All they can say is don't call me back. And no doesn't mean no forever. It just means no today. So when you think about it, when you say closing, closing is a transfer of confidence right at the end of where a person goes, I'm in. This has to be sold. Raise your hand if you believe this has to be sold to somebody. Right? You got to sell it. You got to sell it. You got to convince them. You got to say, no. You got to do this, man. Seems like you want to do it. What's holding you back? What's prohibiting you from moving forward? What's stopping you from taking action? Now, notice when I'm saying these things, I smile. So I do it in a smiling. I'm sitting there smiling at them going, man, you're ready to go, aren't you? This is good. I'm excited for you. Let's get you rolling. Let's go and get that contract signed. Okay? And many times they're like, you're right. Let's go. Let's do it. How many of y'all have sold something only not to do that and then come back and they backed out of it in a very short period of time? Okay? Because they lost that enthusiasm. Your job is to sell them. Your job is to get them excited. Your job is to get them motivated, to build momentum toward the close. So let's show you this one more time. Here's what I believe. Here's why I believe it. Here's what we do. Here's people we have done it for. If we could do it for you like we've done it for them, what would stop us from getting moving right now? Okay. Now let's take some of the objections that you hear. Okay. Kobe down here Kobe, how you doing, big guy? What are some of the objections that you hear when you go to make the close?
Objections? Let's say they'll make something up, whether it's I need to get with my wife, or I need to look into it a little bit further. I need to do research, those kind of things. That's kind of what I would tell you that I've heard.
I have to check with my accountant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was.
They all have to check with their accountants.
Now, let me tell you an interesting thing. Okay, there are more men that throw their poor wives under the bus.
Yes.
I've ever seen in my life. I got to talk to my wife. My wife controls all the money. She don't let me make any decisions. I got to run it by her. Got to make sure we're in agreement. We have a health division of our company now, and my wife was doing an assessment with the person the other day that needed to lose 100 pounds, and he knew he needed to lose 100 pounds. And when they come down to the close to get him started on the eating plan, he said, I got to check with, I've got a doctor's appointment next week and I need to check with my doctor. And I said, what do you think your doctor's going to say to you about if we could help you lose 100 pounds? Do you think he's going to tell you not to do it? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Right. I got to check with my doctor. I know I need to lose 100 pounds. Right. But I got to check my doctor to make sure it's okay if I do it. Now, my point is all of these things, when I hear people say these things, how do you handle the objection? What's the process you use, Kobe, when you get that objection?
Well, it just depends on the situation, but let's say they say the wife thing. I said, if we're getting ready to go into the close, then I would say, okay, well, you take the time to do that with your wife. But in the meantime, why don't we go forward? Let's do this. So we don't have to come back and go back and do this or that. So we kind of try to go around it, and we'll still let him know, understand, yeah, you could still talk to your wife, but let's move forward with this process. That's kind of where I've been on those situations.
All right. Now, here's one thing that I do that I use. Okay. This is the formula that I use when I'm working through an objection. Okay. I listen and I agree. Kobe, I understand. Sometimes I like to talk to my wife about things. Although many times I don't, because she runs her side of the business and I run my side of the business. But I understand you got to do that. I say, is there any other reason outside of just talking to your wife that would keep you from moving forward with this? Okay. Now, what I'm trying to do there is isolate the objection to figure out if he's lying to me or not. Is there any other reason? Now, if you talk to your wife and she says that she's on board, we're going to do it, right? Because you want to do it. Okay. Now, if I go through that and I isolate the objection and he still doesn't move, he said, well, I got to talk to her. Then I come back and I kind of challenge him. And the challenge is, your wife would want to save this much money, wouldn't she? Like, she wouldn't be against you saving this money, right? Because I'm pretty sure she could figure out something to do with it if you had a little extra, right? Like, so here's what I do. I go back and I challenge the prospect. Now, let's say if TJ was looking at my coaching and me being his coach, and then he said, well, the timing's not right. I would say, TJ, I understand why you think the timing's not right. Is there any other reason outside of timing that would keep you from moving forward with me? No, it's just the timing. Okay. If I could show you how now is actually the perfect time, would you be open to that? And he's going to go yes or no. Then I may, if he says, well, no, I'm just, the time is not right, I may challenge TJ by this. Now, TJ, you and I both know that we can have this talk today or we can have it 6 months from today. But I can't help you, man, until you commit. And once you commit, I'm not going to let you fail. Right. And I've helped other people just like you get an increase of up to 40 to 50% in a 1 year cycle. And I'm going to challenge him. Now, you got to be careful when you use this method. You don't want to come across as being arrogant. You want to be an authority. You know, like me the other day with the guy who wanted to lose 100 pounds. I'm saying, man, you can go talk to your doctor, but I can guarantee you your doctor's going to say, this is a good move for you. Right now, we can wait till you talk to your doctor. We can go ahead and get you started, and you get your doctor's blessing when you go do it. But the faster we get you started, the faster you're going to lose that weight, the faster you're going to feel better, and the more energy you're going to have. Now, is that what you want? You want to have more energy? You want to look good? You want to feel good? Yeah. Okay, good. We can't help you, man, until you commit. So what I do is I come back with a little bit of a challenge. I don't want it to get adversarial. You never want to get adversarial, but I come back and I'm an expert. How many of y'all think you're an expert? Raise your hand if you think you're an expert. Okay, well, then be a freaking expert. Don't let me control it. I'm not the expert on Sun Solar Solutions. You are. So tell me what I need to do. Okay, like I have this talk with my financial advisors. I'm like, quit making suggestions. I told you how much money I want to have by the time I'm 50 years old. Now you tell me how much money I got to invest. Quit. I almost use the word pussyfooting. Quit pussyfooting around me. Okay? Like, tell me what it is I got to do. You're an expert. All right? Okay, Michael, you got a thought you want to show in there?
Well, I think the problem that I end up encountering and that I need to overcome every single time is that when the customer starts giving me an objection, like I need to talk to my wife, I need to talk to my accountant, I need to sit with this until Friday. I buy the objection. I start believing it.
Yeah.
And what I need to do is to not buy that objection. I am the expert. I do know it is the right time. I do know that it's a problem for them. I've done this thousands of times. People who don't move forward, don't get it, don't get the benefits. I need my way to serve this person is to not believe their objections and to show them how, like you just said, this is the best time. Yeah. And if I can get them to listen to that and move forward, I know in my heart, they're way better off. I have to be the one in the room who believes that and not buy their objection.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. And we'll kind of close on this because I wrote down in my notes this concept. And I learned this from Tim Story, my buddy Tim Story. You've had some revelation about what it is you do. I don't know when you had it, but there was a big aha moment in your life that you believe you could help people. Because of that revelation, you now have conviction. So to Michael's point about what he just said, it's actually an injustice on his part to let them control it when he has such a deep conviction that he can help them. You see that? You are an expert. I know how many people I've coached in my life. I know how many lives have been changed. I know how many millions of dollars people have made. I got to convey that to my sales team is you got to sell it with such a conviction. You got to say there is nobody on planet Earth better than this dude at activating pray drive-in people. Nobody. Now, if you want to make $1 million more a year or $10 million more, he needs to be your coach. Now, that's the end of the discussion, right? Now, they got to have that kind of conviction because of the results that we help people get. You got to have the kind of conviction is this is the right time. I can understand why you don't think it's the right time, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make an argument for why this is the perfect time for you to do this. Okay? I've had revelation. I have conviction. I am now willing to do whatever it takes. And that's really what closing is about. It is a transfer of conviction at the at the moment of truth. And it just takes a little shot, guys. Boom, just a little shot. Now, I'll close with this. I always love spending time with you guys. Y'all are going to convince me to be a door-to-door salesman before it's over with. Swear to goodness. Now, and I'm going to get in there and make $10 million bucks. Now, here's my point. Michael O'Donnell said something at the very beginning that I really like, and I've been talking about this. He talked about going pro. The difference between an amateur and a pro, right? Stephen Pressfield wrote the book, Go Pro, Do the Work, War of Art. What I love about Pressfield's work is he says, I made a decision to leave my amateur desires behind and to freaking go pro. The difference between an amateur and a professional is the one deal Michael talked about in the beginning, is instead of closing 2 out of every 10, you close 3 out of every 10. Instead of, right, like you have gone pro, you're such a professional, you get the deal across the finish line because you're that good. When you're in the presence of great people, they're that good. And when they're that good, people's like, I'm in. I want to be associated with them because they're people of advancement. They're people of increase. You give the impression of increase. So I want to encourage you guys, as you go out there today, stay motivated during this period. If your pray drive is not activated during this period, you ain't got a pray drive. Can we all agree on this? Like if this hasn't activated your pray drive, then you're really struggling with the pray drive concept. Okay, so I really encourage you. Remember, I'm going to give you guys the book Inside the Mind of a Monster. If you haven't taken advantage of this, or you want to do a strategy call with me or my team on anything, follow up, extraction of referrals, text that code, and I'm going to give you the book Inside the Mind of a Monster. That's my mindset on attack right now. Okay, text that code. I'll ship you the book. I think you just pay for the shipping. It's a hardback. I don't know if we have hardbacks or softbacks, but it's a good book. It's worth it. Whatever the shipping is. Okay, and if you want to do a strategy session with me, then just when we send you the email, just send back strategy session with Coach. Because I think that's the best way for me to articulate my value to you and really help you. Okay, I hope this has been good for you. Thank you guys for showing up. 17 of you showed up. You know what that tells me about you? 17 studs and studettes. Right, Sarah? Okay.
Hey, Coach Burt, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Yep. And Michael.
Thank you, Coach Burt.
Thank you. You guys are great. Michael O'Donnell tapped in some things. You guys, if you're interested in anything, let me know. We can help you. Right now, our coaching program's at an all-time low. We got a $49 per month program. We've got a $99. We've got a $14.97 and a $24.97. Okay. And the $24.97 is actually one of the best deals because you get 2 years of coaching for under $2,500, and we put that into payments for you. And that's 730 days of coaching for $3.42 a day. Do you know how many people were lined up this morning at Krispy Kreme to get a donut when I came into work? About 35. They was going to spend more than $3.42 if they'd put the Krispy Kreme down and paid Coach Burt. They'd probably make $1 million more a year. Okay. So if you're interested in us helping you guys, me being your coach, now is the time to get in. It's the best it's ever been. Okay. So I appreciate you. Love you guys, and have a great day. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Coach Michael Burt, and the #1 book that I've written over the last couple of years that could help you during these unusual times is a book I wrote called Inside the Mind of a Monster. Now, I want to give you that book. All you have to do is text 678-506-7543. Because when you text that in, I'm going to give you a copy of my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster. And it's going to show you the habits and mindsets of top producers and how they attack every single day versus play defense. Don't you want to play offense? Get this book. I'm giving it to you, and I'm telling you, I'm going to turn you into a legendary creature.